for that? Well, we have a healthy turnout, and as announced earlier that this is lunchtime in Australia, and it's great to see so many of you turning out. We have about more than 100 over that are joining and tuning in for this session. So a big welcome to everyone. Okay, Blackout series. Yes, this is our new series. So thank you for joining us at the Cyber Risk Meetup session. We have actually had quite a lot of different series over the last few months, but today is a really exciting one. It's called the Blackout series. Leadership in Crisis. And a big thank you to all our sponsors and partners. Recorded Future is sponsoring this session, and also our partners Privasec, My Security Media, ISACA, Cybersecurity Magazine, and Cyan. So it's all about a community, building a community together. So my name is Charmaine Tan. I'm the host for today. I'm also the founder of Cyber Risk Meetup and the podcast host for Mega C-Suite Stories. And I'm also the Chief Growth Officer at Privasec, which is a local cybersecurity consulting firm. But today, I have with me, as you can see, a very, very special guest. We have King Lee, all the way from Toll Group, who is the CIO over there. And he has a lot of experience. And before I go into a bit of introduction to his background and what is he discussing with us today, just want to quickly walk through a few, well, I think some of you might be new to Cyber Risk Meetup. So just an introduction, we actually are a local meetup. We started in Australia a few years ago, originally in Sydney, and then we expanded to Melbourne, Brisbane, Perth, and then in Singapore, and then in Tokyo. And now we are about maybe more than 3,000 over people in this community, and we meet regularly to share insights and just hear from industry leaders as well. And previously, we have had quite a number of very interesting sessions with high-profile leaders and game changers in these industries. So we have met with like the board directors, talking about what's their world and perspective like. How do we communicate better to people at the board? We've also talked to the world's first CISO all the way back in 1994. So that's really interesting how he dealt with Russia's hack. So there's a lot of interesting guests that we have had over the years. You can subscribe to Cyber Risk Meetup YouTube channel if you want to catch up on the episodes. In fact, today's episode is going to be on the Cyber Risk Meetup YouTube channel, and we will also be on podcast, the Mega C-Suite Stories. You can check it out on your favorite podcast channel. So whether it's Spotify and a few other well-known names. All right, so with that, back to King Lee. So King Lee has, I think like more than almost 2 decades of experience as a CIO. I mean, I looked at your history, career history, even with GE, General Electric, and you've done a lot of incredible things in terms of the work, over a substantial period of time. And you joined Toll at a very interesting time as well.
Yes.
But I just want to thank you for taking time out today to share your learnings, to share your observations, to share your expertise with our community. And as the same as the previous speakers, you are actually not representing your company. You're actually sharing this from your personal experience itself. So I really want to thank you on behalf of our community that you're taking time to do this. Yeah, so we can start off the session to maybe share with us, when you first joined Toll, did you join, because Toll went through quite an interesting year this year with 2 major attacks, and the first one around end of Jan, early Feb, and then the second one sometime in May. So did you actually join right before the second attack or right in the midst of the second cyber attack?
Very, very good question, Charmaine. First of all, thanks for inviting me to this session. I think what you are doing here with the sponsors of having Cyber Meet, getting people together and sharing experiences and really brainstorming ideas is a very good way to help everyone, right, improve on what we need to do here. Back to your question is that I joined Toll in March, about 6 months ago. So it's really a month after the first attack and 2 months before the second attack. Okay.
Oh wow.
And I now prior to that, I spent, as you said, 20 plus years with General Electric in various different IT and business operations role outside of Australia. And I've been away from Australia for like 26 years. And I think one of those days that I woke up sometime last year that, why am I still doing outside of Australia when my children are all back in Melbourne? So that's when we decided to actually retire out of GE and move back to Melbourne. and very fortunately found this opportunity with Toll, and pick up a very interesting role with them. Having said that, as you mentioned, I joined at a very special time in Toll, right after not just cyber, but actually, as you guys know, that Australia went through a bushfire crisis. That's put a lot of the whole country into a lot of stress. Companies like Toll also got involved in helping with the bushfire, but also impacted by the effect of it. And then followed by the first cyber incident, and then COVID, and then the second cyber incident. So we have gone through a fair bit in the last few months.
Yes, we certainly have. And you, of all times, you've chosen an interesting time as well to take such a high-profile role. And then, everyone's observing and seeing how you respond as well in times of crisis, right? But at the same time, there's a lot of learning opportunities too. And today we have like a very good mix of audience from we have a number of CISOs who have joined in, CIOs, COOs, MDs, a lot of different execs, global head of security people as well, and across different industries and from different countries, but mainly within APAC today. And so I think it'll be really interesting to hear about, like, maybe if we start from the beginning, right? Like, Toll was facing threats from the hackers about publishing the information they access on the dark web. So we're just wondering if you can maybe walk through what exactly happened at that point in time, and the steps of response you had to take.
Right. Okay. So as I mentioned, we kind of went through 2 cyber attacks this year. It really happened between the first and the second cyber attack happened within 3 months period. So as I think as some of you, hopefully none of you, if you have gone through a cyber attack, you really don't wish it on anyone else. And Toll has gone through 2 times in a very short 3 months period. Now I wouldn't touch much on the first cyber incident. I wasn't here as a so I won't have a first-hand information. But then, as we were recovering after the first cyber incident, when I first joined, the team has actually worked very well in putting recovery actions in place and securing our environment. And then the second cyber incident happened. And what we noticed is one morning on the 4th of May, there were encrypted files in the systems, and there's a ransom note left behind on the server. So we knew straight away that we had been hit by a ransomware. What we did very quickly is to we brought the system down in an orderly fashion. In fact, one of the things that our team did was to shut down the internet gateway. That is to ensure that if there's any virus still in the system, it doesn't get spread to our partners and customers. So that's the number one thing, is to contain it and protect others, and then bring down the systems and engage and kick off the crisis management process, very importantly, and then put BCP in place and started communicating to our customers, to the media, to the regulators, as well as to our employees. So you gotta get all those in place pretty quickly in an orderly fashion in order to control the environment. So it's been and then the following few weeks is actually working through painfully to recover the whole systems and bring things back online and get business operations back online as well. I must say that it is important to act very quickly when you identify a cyber attack. It's just like any other crisis. You got to be able to act extremely quickly, but also in an orderly fashion. Don't panic. And you got to really coordinate the entire organization well, so that everyone knows what they need to do. So I must say that to be able to do that, you got to be ready with a plan.
Yeah.
So that when you encounter such situation, you don't have to start thinking about, so what should I do next? You will need to have a crisis management plan in place, and especially for cyber, your team will need to know how to react immediately, and what are the right things, step 1, 2, 3, 4 to follow in order to act, to put in the proper measures. And secondly, you really need to have a good business continuity plan in place. Since the system is going to be down, so your assessment is going to be quick in terms of determining how long would you need to use the BCP for. That is very critical for your business operation, and it's extremely critical for your customers as well, because they need to know if your system can't operate today, how long do I have to wait? Do I have to come up with an alternate plan for my business operations as well? So managing the expectation and having that communicated very clearly on how long the BCP is going to run for is absolutely critical, because you do not want to lose confidence of your customer.
Yes.
Right. So you got to be with that. You got to determine how you're going to stay control on top of the crisis. If you can present a plan, a timing, and show them what you're doing, that will actually give them a lot of confidence of, even if the BCP is going to be in place for 1 or 2 weeks, it's a long period of time, but they know what exactly you're doing. That will give them a lot more confidence on working with you on that.
I was just wondering, because you mentioned you joined after the first attack, right? But were you involved in building up the BCP plan before the second attack came, or you're in the midst of that?
For the BCP, for most part of our business operations, they already have BCP in place.
Right. Okay.
And after the first attack, we kind of, as we apply those BCPs, we found that there are areas that we can improve on. So we kept improving the BCP, and even today, we continue to work with our customers, because we have a lot of customers that we support, both corporate and for the retail outlets, and to see how do we continue to fine tune our BCP in order to face up to further incidents in the future.
And what would you say is probably the most challenging thing for you, because you were fairly new to the organization, you're in the midst of a lot of uplift, and they're making a lot of changes, right? So you have new stakeholders that you have to introduce yourself to. Maybe you want to share with the audience, like what worked to your advantage joining an organization in a time like this. At the same time, maybe what was the biggest challenge that you have to face and deal with?
Yeah. Well, I suppose the advantage is that I came in with new thinking and really looking at the whole situation from a different perspective. So and asking a lot of questions that most of the time we already have the answers, but then sometimes people say, oh, okay, we probably didn't think about that. So coming in with a fresh pair of eyes is good. And secondly is that I suppose I didn't go through the bushfire crisis. I didn't go through the first cyber incident crisis. So I have a lot more energy. I just came in fresh, dealing with the crisis. So I can really put in 150% of my effort to work with the team. And a lot of times that you find that the team already have a lot of knowledge and know-how on how to deal with it. It's just actually helping them and connecting the dots and motivating them along the way. Right. Now the challenge for me is that if I think about it, being about just 2 months into the company, in fact, right after I joined Toll in the beginning of March, by end of March, most of us are already working from home because of COVID.
Yes.
So I didn't get a chance to meet up with the majority of my team, as well as the business stakeholders and my colleagues and all that, not just in Australia, but globally. I haven't even met them on video yet. So I have to really very quickly get to know each other well, know the individuals, the roles that they play, the whole organization structure, and a lot of the internal process. So that is a challenge for someone new to pick up very quickly.
That's a massive challenge. Do you have any advice or tips on how you went about it and you think it worked really well for you?
Suppose number one is that is to get to know your team and your colleagues well, because like I say, they know the background, they know the history, they know the environment, they know the process, they know the people, the network, and all that. So get to know them well and leverage them 100%. Leverage them and listen a lot. Listen to what the team has got to say, their opinions and the ideas, and work with the colleagues. Teamwork is the most important thing to me. It's not just about this crisis, but I think in everything that we do everywhere in an organization, no individual is going to be that great that can achieve everything by himself or herself. So we have to work in a team and as a team to solve problems. So having patience, listening to others, and then leveraging others and work closely together. And we have to also be able to absorb mistakes. Everybody make mistakes, especially in a crisis time, as we need to move so quickly, make a lot of decisions along the way. We're bound to make some mistakes, big or small. So be able to actually agree on a decision, move forward with that. Even if we make mistakes, we just gotta find an alternate way to move forward, and not having to lay blames and all that, and focus our energy in fixing problems and coming up with new ideas to move forward, which is important.
Oh, that's really good.
And one more thing, when we are saying making mistakes, right, is being transparent.
Being transparent, yes.
We got to be extremely transparent with our team, our colleagues, and even to the extent our customers and partners, that of what we know, what we are doing, and even what mistakes we have made. Yes. Because when you are transparent enough, then you start to build trust from each other.
No, that's very, very important, because you don't want to leave it to ambiguity and people are wondering what's the actions that's being taken. So at the end of the day, it's about the honesty and transparency in your communication as well. But at the same time, you have to be careful about what to reveal and what not to reveal. So having that fine balance is probably a bit tricky, but that's very key. And I like what you said about finding advocates and working with allies for common vision, and the common goal at the end of the day is solving this common problem together. So that's really
and communicating all the time, right? People, if you think about it, right, in a crisis period, and the same thing, something that's common to all of us is COVID-19. So what's happening in the world? How many new cases do we have in Victoria, in Australia, in Singapore, in all over the world? And what are the what's the progress with the vaccine? When are we getting it? So and all this is information that people want to know, things that's very important to them personally. The same thing in the crisis, in the cyber incidents, as we recover from it, there is just so much demand on information. Your employee needs to know what's happening. Your business partners need to know what's happening. Your customers need to know. The media wants to know, and even regulators, ACAC needs to know as well. So what happened? What are you doing about it? Exactly what kind of virus is it? Who's helping you? What are the improvements you're putting in place? And so there's just so much information that they need. So the ability to communicate all the time, frequently, consistently, providing the information to all the parties is extremely critical. Because if you do not communicate well enough, detailed enough, and clear enough, rumors is going to fill the void.
Yes.
People are going to say and speculate what has happened, right? what did not go well, what more is going to happen. So instead of letting people put in their speculation, is to communicate what's actually happening.
That's really, really good and powerful. A powerful reminder, right? Sometimes we take that for granted and we assume that people know, but we need to remind ourselves, right, the power of effective communication, and that's key, right, in any role actually. So I have a couple of questions before I leave it to the audience. I can see that everybody is already busy typing questions away. But before I go to that, there were a few quick things I wanted to check with you. So, as you and I were talking before, and you were sharing a core value that you really have that's important, because there were pressure coming in, in a crisis time, to get your systems back up and running again. You need to continue with service, right? But something really stood out with this sentence that you said. Do you want to share that and elaborate that with the rest of us? Yes.
Okay, sure. After the second cyber incident, as I was dealing with, in fact, in the very first day, the 4th of May, when I get the leadership team together, the global leadership, the business leadership team together, the CEOs and all that, and discuss about the plan and what we need to do next. And obviously, the first question that the division presidents, the business CEOs and all that we're asking, and including our customers, right, is that, so how fast can you recover the system? And by the way, we expect it to be faster than the previous incident, because we will have learned the lessons, we will have better process in place and all that. So the expectation is that we should be able to recover the systems and get back online a lot faster. But then I kind of shared with the leadership team is that look at it from a different angle. This is the second time we got hit, and which proves to us is that there are many actors out there waiting to attack us again.
Take a
if they can attack us first time, if they can attack us the second time. It may be the same group, it may be, and it will definitely, most likely be a different group will be attacking us again. So we want to make sure that as we bring the system back online, it's going to be better, safer, and stronger than before it went down. So the important thing is that, as I mentioned to the leadership team, and until today we still talk about it, is that safety before speed. You got to make sure that as we bring the system back online, it's going to be a lot safer than before it went down, so that we can be more confident as we recover it. We will be able to withstand and be able to detect further attack or tries, that we can eliminate them before it happen again, because nobody wants a third incident. And that went down very well. Now, as much as it's very difficult initially to actually sell the idea, especially explain to our customers why it's taking longer than what they expected to get back on operations, and they're going to continue to use BCP to run the operations. But then later on, very quickly, actually, I must say our customers are very understanding. That very quickly they know that as I talk to their CIOs, their CISO and all that, they say the approach is right. Because if you bring the system back up as what it was previously, we have no confidence in reconnecting with you, because you can't guarantee that you are safer. But the approach that we have taken, and we have shared with them why it's safer, what measures we have taken to actually build a stronger and safer systems when we bring it online, then they feel more confident in reconnecting with us and say, you know what, this is a much better approach. I know we got to wait a little bit longer, but it's worth the wait, right? We know it's going to be better. So.
Yeah, I think that's brilliant, and it's very funny because I'm like comparing the approach, right? With even like a couple of the high-profile attacks for certain organization, and even like one of my chats with Steve Katz, as mentioned earlier, like the world's first CISO, right? But even the same thing when the bank went through a hack, their first hack actually, and the customers were really like concerned. They were wanting to shift right to a different bank. But what the CISO did was he gave a lot of transparency in terms of what they are doing as a bank, what they're trying to work to make sure that they've improved and uplift the entire process and things like that. And that gave the customers so much confidence because of their open communication and the prioritization, right, of security, that in the end they became the leading banks because they have actually dealt with incidents before, they know how to handle it as compared to other banks that have not had the exposure before and the learning. So in a way, like, you know, Toll being a logistic giant, but the fact that everyone has gone through war in a way. So, you know, you're very equipped, you have a different mindset as compared to maybe companies who have not gone through this before. So that's something really insightful that you have shared as well. And I love that safety versus speed, right? It's very, very true. Yeah. So with that, we have quite a few questions that have come in, and I'm going to dive straight into the audience questions. So there's some congratulations about your global head of information security guy that you've hired, Baron. Everyone knows him from Telstra, and so they were wondering, like, you know, what's your first priority to prevent like the next attack, or rather, like, I know that you guys are building a cyber resilience program as well, but what would you say is the most key thing now that, you know, you've gotten key resources in its place? What will be your first focus as a strategy?
Yeah, the thing is that first of all, we are extremely happy and excited to have Barry on board. He's a really a great add to the team, and will really take what we do today to the next level. So very happy to have him join the team. And secondly is that, as you mentioned, Charmaine, throughout the last couple of months, as we are recovering from the cyber incident, we work with our partners, and the Toll IT team has worked day and night to not just recovering in a safer manner, but actually mapping out a cyber resilience program with a few of our partners, and not just mapping it out, because in fact we already have that program in place and starting to run on it, but it was like a 24 to 36 months program. But what the team has done in the last couple of months is really to work out an accelerated version of it, and boils down to around 30 over projects that we have to execute in the next 12 months. So really accelerating what we have originally planned for. It's an extremely ambitious program. Even our partner says that they say no, we're not sure you're going to be able to do it in 12 months. In fact, because it's very ambitious. We have already kickstarted 50% of that program, and we're running well with it. So it's very hard to identify exactly which part that is more important, because they're all important. But then some of the stuff that there are some things that we have to do before the other. So certain activities will have a dependency, right? There's something else as a prerequisite have to be completed before we move on. So that's how we actually prioritize and schedule them. But I would say that there are a few things that it really depends on every organization. You can look at your own deficiencies, or when I say deficiency is that where is your biggest gap that you gotta close first. So it may be the way we prioritize in Toll may not be exactly the same as what other organization needs. So for us is that we want to make sure that our parameters is strengthened, that we can build up a better defense around our parameter, and we make sure that we secure all our remote access with multi-factor authentication.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
And we have a much better endpoint detection capability. We brought in CrowdStrike to add on to what we already have. And we're building a much better detection and monitoring capability, so that we can identify those threats early and be able to, like using CrowdStrike, to terminate and kill those threats. And again, not because Recorded Future is the sponsor for this event, but we have also engaged Recorded Future to really support us in enhancing our threat intelligence, to be able to, again, to what we see is that now, as you go through a cyber incident and you recover from it, as you're building up capability, I would just in the sense that you are like fighting fire that is already on your body, right? And it's important because you really put a fire when it's already burning on you, so you got to put that off. But then going forward, as you start to put a fire on your body, you're gonna start. There's still gonna be fire, right, in the vicinity that's coming. So you got to start fighting fire, not letting the fire come close to you. You got to start fighting fire like 50 meters away, 100 meters away. So we look at like threat intelligence is something like that, is that I know something is that I need to be able to deal with those fire before you even come close to the horizon. And threat intel is one of those key areas that we gotta enhance on.
Yeah, I love that. And it's showing foresight, right? You know, I love the analogy about the fire, and it's so real given, you know, that we have all gone through the bushfire season and things like that. There is a few other questions that have come in as well, but I'm going to try and rephrase it a bit. So, you know, given that there's these two incidents that happened this year, one of the questions came in is more of like, you know, what was dropped off in terms of your approach in dealing with the incident response or business continuity, and what was maybe found unhelpful because you find like that's not working. But if I want to rephrase that a bit, you know, now with the hindsight that you have, okay, being in current moment and you're looking back, what were things that you feel can be improved or you can do better as a advice that you would leave for the rest of us?
Right. No, good question. If I think it through of what we have done, I spoke a lot about the communication, right? So we actually, I would say we've done a pretty good job in communicating to all the stakeholders. What we could have done even better going forward, now thinking back, is that we communicate a lot to our customers to give them information every day. Every day when we have new update, our accounts team will reach out to customers and share with them the progress and what we have done, and answer a lot of questions from customers. Put together Q&A and then broadcast it to more customers. What we could have done better is to help our customers to communicate with their customers, because although we were able to tell our customers of what happened, their customers is also impacted by their capability as a result of Toll's cyber attack, and for some of them, they struggle in kind of translating our communication in their context for their customer. So whether it's retail customer, groceries, mining, and all that, all of them are slightly different, right? So we could have done better in helping our customers to communicate as well, because that will help them. And secondly, that in lines of communication, we although we have actually enhanced our call center by 20% capability bandwidth, it wasn't enough, because there are a lot of queries that came in, and we could have be better prepared to see how we can scale up to double that, rather than just increase it by 20 or 50%. Right? So that's the other thing about communication and what we have learned, and also leveraging the employees. We have a lot of employees as a result of the cyber attack, because the system is down, so they can't do much, and they've been waiting there for information and all that, and so there is a team of employees that now can't do much because of systems unavailability. There's another batch of employees, especially in IT, that's like working around the clock. A lot of my team members, they work 100-hour week or more. It's crazy for those few weeks. So how do we actually better balance the load and leverage some of the other employees? Although the skill set and knowledge is different, how do we actually leverage them to work on communication, right? Two-way communication, helping things now. So if we can do that better, then we'll help support the other batch of the employees as well. So those are a few things that I would say that we can do better.
Yeah, that is really helpful, especially now that you have the hindsight, right? There's a lot of things that probably we can look at improving and evening out the load so there's no burnout. You know, at the end of the day, our people are our resource and we need them as their first line of defense as well. So
Mhm.
that's thanks for sharing, King. Given time, we'll try to get through. Maybe King will try to like see if you can
Okay.
give me a quick answer, you know, for a few, maybe
Okay.
we'll last 3 questions. Okay. So one of them is asked about your views on cyber insurance and whether do you think that this has been helpful for both incidents? Back to you,
Short
King.
question is yes.
Okay, maybe like 2 more sentences elaboration.
Yeah, I mean, basically, cyber insurance is just like any other insurance policies that it's always good to have insurance to protect ourselves, and also now keep in mind also with cyber insurance, right? Again, just like any other insurance that you have, they will also ask you to make sure that you continue to improve yourself, that you put in sufficient protection and all that will help lower your premium. So in a way, it's also helping to encourage you to do the right thing. Right? And I don't mean that if you don't have insurance, you won't be doing the right thing, but then there is just another push. But having insurance is always good.
Yeah, the added protection. There is another one that is about the incidents, right? Have the incidents required a review of third-party risk management practices?
Absolutely, absolutely. Like I mentioned before, is that as much as we look at ourselves, what we need to improve, we also got to make sure that we protect our customers as well. Very important. At the same time, is that there are things that is beyond our control. Whether it's with our partners' systems, connectivity, and all that, we gotta help them to help us, right? Going forward in the future. And the other thing is that for those who have manufacturing operations, there is also a very vague area between IT and OT, operation technology and information technology. So when you get, especially when you get into the manufacturing shop floor and all that, and you may have done all that is required from an IT side, but if your OT, your operation technology, doesn't have the same kind of protection and is connected to your entire internal network, you have to take another look at that.
Thanks for that, King. Given time, I think we're going to wrap off with this final question. I think the rest of you, what happens is, you know, King is available on LinkedIn or what. You can always keep the conversation open, right? So feel free to connect with him, drop him a note after that. But I just want to thank you for being so, you know, you are modeling how is it like being so transparent and open here about your learnings, and the advice I think is really useful for other organizations to take as well and look at how we can influence the culture or, you know, communicate more effectively, right, internally and externally moving forward. So in terms of our final parting question, like what would you say would be maybe your top 3 advice you will leave for effective leadership in times of crisis that you have not already mentioned earlier?
Number 1 is stay calm. In a crisis, the most important thing, especially if you're leading, you're managing the crisis, stay calm, because when the leadership team panics, everybody else will.
Yeah.
Very important. And secondly, it's a teamwork. I think I mentioned that before. I won't repeat all the other stuff, but I just want to re-emphasize teamwork is extremely important. Because if you don't have trust and a good teamwork, you will not be able to mobilize everyone. You will not be able to synchronize your activities as well as possible, and it won't work as effectively. So teamwork is absolutely critical, because you have to be really inclusive and be patient with each other. Okay, in a crisis, there's a lot of stress, so you really need to have that mentality to work closely with each other and understand each other. And I suppose that the third thing is really, as leaders managing crisis, you have to take ownership, because there's a lot of decisions we have to make on the spot. And now there is a process of making decisions. Like I said, teamwork and all that. You have to engage people, take in all the input, look at different options, and then you have to make decision. There is never going to be a perfect decision all the time. There's always going to be trade-off, but you have to take ownership on those decisions. You do not want to procrastinate and say, hey, you know what, if I make this decision, I'm going to be bearing the responsibility. If something goes wrong, I'm going to be blamed. You just have to take ownership on that and make sure that you have engaged enough of the discussion, opinion, but make the decision and move on in order to act quickly.
Thank you so much, King. That's so valuable. And given the fact I know you're so busy, it's hectic, and you take time to share your insights. Really, really appreciate this, and the community is so thankful as well. So thank you so much for this. And with that,
thank you.
Thanks. Any other last words?
No, thank you for organizing this, and I appreciate people spending time listening in and asking those questions. Those are all very good questions. And now just keep sharing, experience. There's something that we learn from Toll, but then we don't. I won't say that we have all the answers. We're just sharing with you what we see and what we have learned, and we do welcome if there's other good ideas and good suggestions of what we can do better as a community.
Wow, love that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Excellent. And with that, we've come to the end of this session. So again, thank you to our sponsors, Recorded Future, our partners, My Security Marketplace, Privasec, and actually as part of community, Privasec has been really supporting community. So we are running another session, which is a different one. It's a broadcast series. I'm hosting that as well, and that is more of we're going to talk about third-party risk. So, meeting your gate crashers, right, the unknown in your party. So I have one of our SMEs for that. It's actually happening tomorrow. So if you want to join and be a part of that, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn, and I will be able to give you the registration details as well. And, today's session is going to be on YouTube. So if you feel that it's going to help a lot of other people in the community, and maybe they have not heard about this, or they need to hear all the wise words that King has shared today, then you can share this with your network, and it will also be on the podcast for people who just love plugging in on the audio, right? And with that, we've come to the end of the session. So thank you, everyone. I see every one of you stayed on all the way to the end, so I could tell you're all so hungry, and it's so lovely to meet all of you again. And once again, great to have King on this show with us, and enjoy the rest of your day, guys. Take care.
Have a nice day. Thanks, everyone.
Bye, everyone. See you.
To know what to act on and how to act, you need insights from the outside. You need threat intelligence from Recorded Future. At Scale, we've aggregated data on threats from the entire internet, analyzed it with advanced technology, and organized it into real-time, contextual information that's insightful and actionable. Using our portal, or integrating it into the solutions you're already using, you'll almost instantly see which alerts you can ignore and which demand immediate action. Clear risk scores help you act confidently. Relevant information helps you know how to act effectively. Plus, because Recorded Future is constantly uncovering the latest, greatest threats, it'll even help you identify attacks that didn't trigger an alert. Alerts tell you something's up. Recorded Future helps you know exactly what, so you can reduce your digital risk. Get a demo today at recordedfuture.com.